In my previous acting masterclass video on Patrick Stewart's Jean-Luc Picard, some viewers came away with the mistaken impression I was disparaging William Shatner's performance as Kirk by comparison. This video is here to correct that mistake. Despite Shatner's reputation as a hammy, over-the-top actor, he, like Stewart, is a Shakespearean stage actor, whose wealth of experience is evident in his excellent performance as Captain James T Kirk. This may come as a shock to some, but it's been said that William Shatner has an ego. I know, but it's true, and it seems his acting choices are purpose-built to draw attention to himself. His signature cadence and energetic body language certainly produce some strange results at times. I'm Captain Kirk! But he is undeniably magnetic to watch. So let's break down Shatner's acting technique to explain why, even at his hammiest, we cannot look away from Captain Kirk.
Sounds like fun.
Firstly, let's tackle Shatner's famously unique speaking rhythm, but surprisingly, a lot of people get this wrong. Many comedians and impressionists mistakenly think Shatner inserts random pauses into his sentences.
You have killed. You have murdered.
Anyone who pays attention, however, knows this is not actually how he speaks. In a previous video, I showed how Patrick Stewart exercises precise control by having Picard carefully consider his words before speaking them.
I respect an officer who is prepared to admit ignorance and ask a question, rather than one who out of pride will blunder blindly forward.
However, Shatner speaks as though his mind is racing ahead of his mouth, forcing him to elongate certain syllables, repeat filler words, or hold on a pause until he's found the proper phrasing. Seth MacFarlane's Shatner is much closer.
That's what war is, Councilman. That's what makes it a thing to be avoided. You've made it neat and simple. So neat and simple. But you've had no reason to stop it.
But Kevin Pollak nails it.
Their personalities have altered, yet somehow they seem familiar. I don't know what to do. Kirk out.
In other words, Picard thinks words and then speaks them, whereas Kirk speaks his words as he's thinking them.
I was not aware, Mr. Barris, that 12 Klingons constitutes a swarm.
As parodied as his line delivery is, listening back, it's actually quite naturalistic. Shatner never sounds as though he's reciting lines. His dialogue sounds authentic, if at times exaggerated. And just like Patrick Stewart's line delivery, Shatner's cadence dictates the pace of conversation. Whereas Stewart's controlled delivery allowed scenes to unfold steadily, Shatner's staccato style is continuously surprising. Watch this exchange from the episode The Ultimate Computer.
I'm getting a red alert right here. That thing is dangerous.
Notice how his hand is already up, gesturing, before he finishes his line. His body knows the feeling he's trying to describe before he knows exactly how to articulate it.
Only a fool would stand in the way of progress, if this is progress. You have my psychological profiles. Am I afraid of losing my job to that computer?
Now notice how he seems to interrupt himself.
Only a fool would stand in the way of progress, if this is progress.
As new ideas and clarifications enter his mind, he starts new clauses as interjections. While we hang on Stewart's every word, Shatner forces us to keep up with him as he constantly varies speed and volume. It lends his speech a natural musicality.
Captain Kirk is climbing a mountain. Why is he climbing a mountain?
Speaking of music, if you appreciate good sound quality, then you should check out today's sponsor, Raycon. I use Raycon's everyday earbuds to listen to my favorite music and audio dramas when I'm commuting and at the gym. Raycon's latest model is better than ever with a 32-hour battery life and multi-point connectivity, which means I can pair them with two devices at once. Their ergonomic design makes them comfortable to wear, and with active noise cancellation, I can block out distractions to get the best listening experience possible. Stylish case coverings also protect the earbuds from accidental damage and bad weather. The case itself also supports wireless charging, giving you 90 minutes of battery life after only a 10-minute charge. Follow the link in the description to go to buyraycon.com/RowanJ for 20% off your order. Thank you again to Raycon for supporting this channel. Now let's return to Captain Kirk. As famous as Shatner's speaking style is, his physical acting is just as varied and surprising. Patrick Stewart's physicality is precise and deliberate, often walking with arms firmly bolted to his sides. But Shatner is constantly in motion.
Oh, then you do admit to the charge. Yes! Anything.
All right, Doctor, you built this thing. How do you propose to turn it off?
But I must point out that the possibilities, the potential.
Watch any walk and talk scene in the original series and see how Shatner gestures and poses. He never stands neutral, he's always playing with props, folding his arms, puffing his chest, or holding his hips. Shatner acts with his whole body, and at times his energy and enthusiasm can get the better of him, leading to his more hammy moments. But properly tempered, Shatner's energy is always dynamic and engaging to watch.
You also had a great lesson in directing William Shatner, because I asked you how that was to deal with, and you said you had to get him bored.
He has this exchange with Khan. Khan says, you've got 30 seconds to deliver the secret code. And meanwhile, Kirk and the Enterprise are preparing to fire the shit out of his ship, and they're stalling, and finally, Kirk, wearing reading glasses and definitely looking vulnerable, has a line where he says, here it comes. And the first time Bill did it, he says, here it comes. And I said, Bill, this guy is really smart on the other end of the line. If you snidely, smirkingly deliver this, he's going to know something is up. And I wasn't sort of getting anywhere. And so I said, I'm sorry, that was no good for sound. Let's do it again. Then the cameraman whispered, he says, it's a little soft. We have to, And I just kept doing it. And finally, the reading, which is pretty damned effective, is what came out. And that's when I sort of learned that if you do it a few times, he was less inclined to strike attitudes.
As humans, contrasts stand out to us, and next to Spock's cold stoicism and McCoy's reserved curmudgeonly manner, Shatner is a beacon of visual and audio activity that immediately draws our attention. As soon as he walks into a room or opens his mouth, our focus snaps to him. Part of this is Shatner's innate personality traits, but it's also deliberate on the part of his ego.
But Bill Shatner was my understudy, so he went on as Henry V. And what he did was he didn't do what I did at all. Mm-hmm. When I stood up to make a speech, he would sit down and do his speech.
He did the opposite of you.
He did the opposite of everything I did, and I knew that son of a was going to be a star.
Let's look at another example from the episode Return to Tomorrow with the famous "Risk is our business" speech. Once again, we see how Kirk's mind is racing ahead of his mouth, in the way he gestures to McCoy in anticipation of the words. He brings in more of that physical acting with these cutting hand motions to emphasize the danger, and then balls his hands into fists to emphasize the possible rewards. Then, as he pauses, Shatner works in this smile, as if Kirk has just stumbled upon a realization. He's been searching for the words to make his point, and now he's found them. This is a monologue delivered in a nearly unbroken 60-second take, and Shatner makes every frame of it. Let's shift to a more subtle example, Spock's death scene in The Wrath of Khan. The key to Shatner's excellence in this scene is that he's forced to bottle up his usual energy. Initially, Kirk tries to charge in, but he's held back, and for the rest of the scene he's restraining himself. He wants nothing more than to tear his way inside this chamber to save his friend, but he can't. Shatner shows this by keeping his gaze fixed on Spock, and his hands are limp against the glass. Rather than pressing his palms to the surface, his fingers are bunched up, not knowing what to do. He takes a step to the door, but stops himself, and the pain of holding himself back is heard when he speaks Spock's name.
Spock!
Watch Shatner's eyes throughout this scene, At first he keeps his eyes tense, but when Spock comes closer, Shatner releases that tension, leaving his eyes wide open. It was as if Kirk was holding on to some desperate hope, but upon seeing the burns on his friend's face, that hope shatters. As Spock sinks to the ground, Shatner releases more tension from his body, dropping his hands and narrowing his eyes. When Spock finally dies, Shatner, rather than screaming out a dramatic "No!", the word falls out of his mouth like a gasp.
No.
Finally, he slumps against the glass, completely defeated. Shatner's acting style may be big, but he's more than capable of some beautiful subtlety.
You okay, Jim? How do you feel?
I feel young.
Patrick Stewart may get all the love as a Shakespearean powerhouse, but William Shatner's mix of thespian gravitas and cowboy swagger should be equally celebrated. His endlessly surprising vocal and physical acting technique fills James T Kirk with a magnetic charisma which keeps us glued to the screen. Whether he's screaming at the top of his lungs, tripping balls on the bridge, or breaking our hearts with moving subtlety, this performance is the work of an actor giving it their all. Say what you want about the guy, but throughout the decades the Star Trek mythos has existed, Shatner never once phoned in a performance. He made Captain Kirk equal parts hammy and heroic, funny and strange, swaggering and silly. Sometimes it's too much, sometimes it's pitch perfect, but it's always tremendous fun. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video and want to see more, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to stay up to date on future uploads. On my Patreon, you can see videos early and ad-free. The link is in the description. Thank you to all of my patrons and members, with an ultra thanks to LaBelle Games, Tim Spott, Eamon Kelly, Michael Hardy, County Ark, Mike Halsey, Olivia Computer, Bano, Jaron Walker, Tom, Director Kate, Patrick Fleming, Matthew Camille, Lilac Yane, Ed Mark Starr, Extreme Streamers, Howard Craig Kervik, and AS Caging 101. Thank you once again for watching, and until next time, have a good one.